Focus on the establishment of the five major types of sacrifices. Sister Katie, would you be able to name the five? You should be able to name them now without looking now. I always calling you.
Okay, the sin offering, the burnt offering, the peace offering, the grain offering, and I always forget at least one.
It starts with a G, rhymes with ilt.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. So we've been talking about those sacrifices, but we've also been talking about the consecration of the tabernacle and all of the articles that has been used in God's worship. And not only that, in the last chapter, in chapter 8, specifically, we're talking about the consecration of the priesthood. All right, just like with it, think of it like a dedication. You know, there's a purification that has to happen. The purification of the tabernacle, the purification of all the articles of worship that's used in the tabernacle, but also the purification of the priesthood. And we talked about the sacrifices that the priesthood had to make, the application of the blood to the priesthood, to the lobe of their right ear, to their right thumb, and the toe of the right foot. And this went on for how many days? Remember, it wasn't just one day that this happened.
7.
For 7 days. For 7 days. Now, and at the end of chapter 8, and this is going to be a key verse, in verse 36 of chapter 8, it says, "Thus Aaron and his sons did all the things which the Lord had commanded through Moses." A key verse. Being obedient to what God says to do. Because what was the penalty? What was the penalty in failure?
Death.
It was death. It was death. Yes. So God, and I've said it before, God is deadly serious about His law. God is deadly serious about obedience and making sure that His sacrifices and His worship are carried out in accordance with His word. So that kind of wrapped up chapter 8. So we had 7 days of this consecration of the priesthood. You know what? Why 7 days? Why couldn't it just be one day? We talked a little bit about this. You know, we maybe even speculated a little bit. You know, talking about the significance of something done 7 times. The book of Revelation talks about various types of numbers, and of course the number 7 is a number that represents something that is divine or something that is complete. I've seen commentators, and you know, it could be that this could be related to the 7 days in which God had created or had completed creation from day 1 to the time that He rested, 7 days, and then the movement of the universe, of course, began on the 8th day. Everything was set in order, and God's worship is going to be set in order before it begins. So now chapter 9 is going to bring us into the 8th day. What was done on the 8th day? Well, God's worship began. The sacrifices begin. But what we're going to see here is a common pattern that in order for the people to bring their sacrifices, the priesthood is going to be participating in those sacrifices too. The priesthood needs to make sure that they are atoned for before they go to help the people with their atonements. So Leviticus chapter 9, if you haven't already, please go ahead and open your Bibles to Leviticus chapter 9. And in Leviticus chapter 9, I've divided this book up into, or the chapter into 4 different sections. The first several verses is going to be talking about the preparation for the offerings on the 8th day. And that's going to be the first 7 verses of chapter 9. All the different animals that's going to be brought for the sacrifice. The next several verses, verses 8 through 14, is going to talk about the offerings for the priest. And we'll talk a little bit about the order of things. You know, why couldn't the priest just go ahead and get busy with the sacrifices? You know, why is it that the offerings for the priest had to be put forth first? And then of course we had the offerings for the people, verses 15 through 21, and we'll talk about that more in detail, and what Aaron, the high priest, the brother of Moses, did, what Moses did, and the significance of those things. We'll talk a little bit about that this morning, and finally the results of what has happened. So why don't we go ahead and dive in the first verse? Does somebody want to read the first 4 verses for me from Leviticus chapter 9, Brother Eric?
And it came to pass on the 8th day that Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. And he said unto Aaron, Take thee a young calf for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering without blemish, and offer them before the Lord. And unto the children of Israel thou shalt speak, saying, Take a kid of the goats for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both of the first year, without blemish, for a burnt offering. Also a bullock and a ram for peace offerings, to sacrifice before the Lord, and a meat offering mingled with oil, for today the Lord will appear unto you.
Oh, fantastic. I love the way Brother Eric reads the scriptures. You know, I got a Bible app that will actually read the Bible to you, and you sound just like it. Every time you read, I think about the Bible app where it reads. I appreciate that. Okay, so what were the priests to bring to the sacrifice?
A lot.
What's that?
A lot.
A lot? Okay. What were they to bring? Now, take a look at verse 2.
A young bull for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering, without defects, and present them to the Lord.
Right. Okay. So Moses told Aaron to bring a calf, a bull for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering. And of course, Aaron is to sacrifice them for himself and his son's behalf. So the priesthood, they had to bring their own sacrifice. How about the people? What were the people to bring? Oh, first off, what sort of sacrifices were the priests to bring?
A sin offering and a burnt offering.
A sin offering and a burnt offering. Okay, we're going to talk about the order and how these things were offered. Remember back in Leviticus chapter 1, how did the sacrifices start? How was the sacrifice presented to us? Which one was presented first? It was a burnt offering. Remember, we didn't get to the sin offering until chapter 4.
Right.
So how the offerings were and the sacrifices were presented to us in the first several chapters of Leviticus. Don't take that as an order of sacrifices being offered. Take a look at how they were offered when God's worship started after the consecration of the tabernacle and the priesthood.
For the consecrating. Right?
Say again?
That order was for the consecration of the tabernacle. The very first order, the burnt offering, is that what that was?
No.
Okay.
No. Just the different sacrifices and offerings were presented to us. Okay. Now what we're saying is the order in which they were done.
Okay. I got you.
Okay, so you're right. Yes. So the priests bring a burnt offering and a sin offering, well, the sin offering and the burnt offering. But what were the people to bring to the sacrifice?
The kid of the goats for a sin offering, a calf and a lamb, both of the first year without blemish as a burnt offering, Also a bull and a ram as a peace offering, and let's see, and a grain offering mixed with oil.
All right. So what offerings do we see here?
The sin offering,
Yes.
the burnt offering, the peace offering, and the grain offering.
And the grain offering. That's right. That's right. Okay. So Jessica was right. A lot is to be brought, and these things are going to be offered on the 8th day, and this is what Moses had said to Aaron and his sons in verse 4. He said, "Do these things." At the end of verse 4, he said, "For today the Lord will appear to you." So what big event is going to happen?
God's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Imagine that.
How? What? This should be a how. How do you? Or yeah. Okay. I think maybe what is better. What do you think that will motivate? What do you think? Knowing this big event is going to happen, what do you think that would motivate?
Everyone.
What's that? It would certainly motivate everyone. Everyone to do what?
Give her best.
To give her best. Okay, to give her best. And what else? What other simple activity that is practiced among God's people today?
Show us.
Knowing that the Lord is going to return. What do? Obedience. This would certainly, if you knew that this event was going to happen, what would that motivate among the people that the Lord was going to return? You know, I was thinking about 2 Peter chapter 3. 2 Peter chapter 3 says in verse 10, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief, in which the heavens will pass away with the roar, and with the elements will be destroyed with intense heat, and the earth and its works will be burned up. Since all these things will be destroyed in this way, what sort of people ought you be in holy conduct and godliness, looking for and hastening the coming of the day of God, because of which the heavens will be destroyed by burning, and the elements will melt with intense heat." Certainly, if I knew that this event was coming, it would certainly motivate obedience. And that is exactly what is going to happen. Again, going back to the key verse in verse 36 of chapter 8, "Thus Aaron and his sons did all the things which the Lord had commanded through Moses." All right, so we have these preparations, these preparations that they're being. Concerning God's worship today, do you think there might be any sort of modern day applications for us as Christians when we're thinking about this word preparations?
Absolutely.
Preparations for offering or preparations for worship?
Absolutely.
How's that, Mimo?
Because God does not change. And we know how He demanded and required complete obedience then. He's the same now about His worship. He's told us in the New Testament how to worship, and that's the way we better worship.
Okay. Any other thoughts? How about worship for this morning? Is there anything that you did to prepare for today?
Yes.
What did you do?
Prepared my mind. Prepared, not just my body, my clothing, my routine, everything. My alarm, what time to set, everything was prepared for this morning.
Yes, that's right. And everything was lined up. Everything was lined up, ready to go, and it wasn't that, okay, worship is starting, and everyone's looking around for the sacrificial animals. Well, I guess I better go get them. Guess I better go home and get them. Everything is lined up and ready to go. Preparations for God's worship. And I think that this is something that Christians today really should take to heart. So what was the order of atonement? We just talked about this just a few minutes ago. Remember, it's not following the sacrifices as presented to us at the beginning of
The
Leviticus.
sin offering first and then the burnt offering.
That's right. That's right. The sin offering and the burnt offering. And then they were to have, the people were to make their peace offerings and the grain offerings. But yes, do you think that there's a significance in that order? That the sin offering is to be offered first and then the burnt offering?
Well, yeah, you can't be sinful offering.
Well,
I mean, you have to be atoned for that first.
Well, we talked about the burnt offering and the sin offering. Both has a result for atonement for sin. But then we also talked about kind of the main thrust of these offerings too. All right. Clearly, we talked about the sin offering being offered for the worshiper seeking forgiveness for his sins. Okay, but then we also talked about the burnt offerings. How does the sin offering differ from the burnt offering and what is done with the animal? Does anybody remember that?
Was the burnt offering the one that's fully consumed? Is that for the Lord?
That's correct.
Right.
That, you're exactly right about that.
And then the sin offering was for us, our sins.
Yes. Okay. Yes. You're right. Right. But also the priesthood had to offer sin offerings for themselves as well.
Yeah,
Okay. So the sin offerings for the people, what was done with the animal? That was given to the priesthood.
Yes.
For the priesthood to consume.
Yes.
Okay? But what about the sin offering for the priesthood? Yes. Obviously, the priesthood is not to profit from their offering for their sins. But clearly, the main thrust of the sin offering was for the worshiper seeking forgiveness and atonement for sin. But what about the burnt offering? What about the burnt offering? Was anybody to consume the burnt offering? The whole animal, save for its skin. Its skin was to be given to the priesthood, but the consumable part of that animal fully burnt up, wholly dedicated to the Lord, the whole thing. And I read commentators saying, and I tend to lean this way, that where we find the significance of that is the worshiper showing his through the dedication of that animal and identifying himself with that animal, dedicating himself with the Lord, seeking forgiveness first, and establishing that dedication. And this is going to be done not only for the priesthood, but for the people as well. But priesthood first. Priesthood first. Okay. So let's talk about this offering for the priest. Could somebody please read verses? Let's see. Let's do 8 through 14. Wait a minute. Did we? No, we didn't read 5 through 7. I'm sorry. So they took what Moses had commanded to the front of the tent of the meeting, and the whole congregation came near and stood before the Lord. So how many of the people came? Everybody came. Okay. They stood before the Lord, and Moses said, "This is the thing which the Lord commanded you to do, that the glory of the Lord may appear to you." Then Moses said to Aaron, "Come near to the altar and offer your sin offering and your burnt offering, that you may make atonement for yourself and for the people. Then make the offering for the people, that you may make atonement for them, just as the Lord had commanded." So again, we talked about the atonement for the priesthood first, and then the people. All right. Could I get somebody to read verses 8 through 11 for me? Jack.
So Aaron drew near to the altar and killed the calf of the sin offering, which was for himself. And the sons of Aaron presented the blood to him, and he dipped his fingers in the blood and put it on the horns of the altar, and poured out the blood at the base of the altar. But the fat and the kidneys and a long lobe of the liver from the sin offering he burned on the altar, as the Lord commanded Moses. The flesh and the skin he burned up with a fire outside the camp.
Yes. Okay. Now somebody read verses 12 through 14 for me.
And he killed the burnt offering, and Aaron's sons presented to him the blood which he sprinkled all around the altar. Then they presented the burnt offerings to him with its pieces and head, and he burned them on the altar. And he washed the entrails and the legs and burnt them with the burnt offerings on the altar.
Okay, very good. All right, so as I mentioned, these several verses here is going to talk about the offering for the priest. So what did Aaron do in these verses? Again, which offering was made first?
Sin.
The sin offering. So what did he do?
He slaughtered.
Yes, he slaughtered the calf of the sin offering. Aaron's sons presented the blood. He dipped his finger in the blood, put some of the blood on the horns of the altar, poured out the rest of the blood around the base of the altar. The fat and the kidneys and the lobe of the liver of the sin offering, just as the Lord had commanded that his sin offerings be conducted. Then he offered up in smoke on the altar, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. All of these parts of the animal, not the whole thing. But the flesh and its skin, however, remember, he was to take it outside the camp and burn it there. And then, of course, next would be the burnt offering. So what was offered next? Obviously, the burnt offering. How was it conducted? How was it conducted? Sum it up.
The first.
Yeah, very similar. Very similar. If I were to answer this question, I would say just as the Lord had commanded. That's how it was done. So the burnt offering was slaughtered, and that burnt offering was all of the animal was offered up on the altar. All right, very good. So I kind of figured we'd get through the whole of chapter 9 today. It's not as long as the other chapters. So next is going to be the offerings for the people, verses 15 through 21. Can I get somebody to read verses 15 through 17 for me?
Then he brought the people's offering and took the goat, which was the sin offering for the people, and killed it and offered it for sin like the first one. And he brought the burnt offering and offered it according to the prescribed manner. Then he brought the grain offering, took a handful of it, and burned it on the altar beside the burnt offering of the morning.
Okay. All right. So what three major kinds of offerings were done for the people on the 8th day?
The sin offering, the burnt offering, and the grain offering.
Yes. The sin offering, the burnt offering, and the grain offering. Very good. Now somebody read verses 18 through 21.
Then Aaron slaughtered the bull and the ram for the people's peace offering. His sons brought him the blood, and he splattered it against all sides of the altar. Then he took the fat of the bull and the ram, the fat of the broad tail, and from around the internal organs, along with the kidneys and the long lobes of the livers. He placed these fat portions on top of the breasts of these animals and burned them on the altar. Aaron then lifted up the breasts of these animals and burned them on. And burned them on the altar.
Okay.
No, wait. Sorry, I missed it. Aaron then lifted up the breasts and right thighs as a special offering to the Lord, just as Moses had commanded. Sorry, I missed that one.
That's fine. So the right thigh, Aaron presented as the special offering.
Right.
Okay.
The breast and the right thigh.
Right. So what was the result thinking about these verses, what was the result of that sin offering? Look at verse 15. What was the result? What is the goal of the sin offering?
For the people.
Yes, for the people.
Well, it wrote their sins forward. It didn't wipe them out. It just rolled them forward until Christ comes.
Oh.
Or here came.
Okay, all right. We'll save that conversation for when we get to the later chapters of the book of Hebrews. That's very good. Very, very insightful. But it says here that that this sin offering it was offered for sin. Again, the result is what the worshiper is seeking, the forgiveness of sin. Will the worshiper receive forgiveness of sin?
Will
Yeah.
But
If everything is done in accordance with obedience.
well, and if they continue to do that.
That's correct. That's correct. So what was done with some? We talked a little bit about the grain offering. What was done with some of the grain?
They took a handful and put it on the altar.
Yes.
Just a handful.
What was that? What was that little bit of grain called?
The weight offering, wasn't it?
No. Again, go back to Leviticus chapter 2, verse 2.
A sweet aroma to the Lord. No, that's not what you're looking for. As a memorial?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go. It was a memorial offering. What was done with the rest of the grain? Given to the priesthood. Okay, remember, we talked about the purposes of these offerings. You know, not only it's almost like a dual purpose thing. Not only does it help the worshiper remain in that right relationship with God and his effort to seek for atonement, to seek for forgiveness. To show his thankfulness and appreciation for what God has done for him in that peace offering. Not only that, but it also serves as provisions for the priesthood. Remember, the priesthood, those that are serving at the tabernacle, this is their job. They are supported by the worshipers. They are supported by these offerings that are brought. So what was done with the ox and the ram? What was done with the ox and the ram? Starting in verse 19.
He took all the fat.
Yep, the fat on the breast and offered them up in the smoke on the altar. Okay, we talked a little bit about why it is that they weren't to eat the fat. That the fat was given to the Lord. The best parts. But the rest, but the breast and the right thigh, Aaron presented as a wave offering before the Lord, just as the Lord commanded. We talked a little bit about the wave offering and the heave offering. How this was done. Of course, is just by speculation. We don't know, but I've heard a lot of commentators that say, well, what the priest would do is they would take the offering and do a motion like this, maybe representing things that come from God are given to man and then back to God, or something that is like a heave offering, and then something that is a wave offering. Being represented as something that is to be shared by man. With God in those peace offerings. Jessica?
So I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So I think I was sick when y'all did that. Why the breast and the thigh? Do we know?
Well, I mean,
is it because of the breast is close to the heart? I wonder because of the thigh. I think that's what I think it's because I get hung up when Jacob was blessing Joseph and his sons, and he told Joseph to put his hand under his thigh.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
I'm wondering if that's a correlation. Why the thigh and why the breast?
Well, the thighs, because this was the portion that was set aside for the priesthood.
But we just don't know why
Well,
those two pieces.
No,
Okay.
no,
All right, I was
not
just
particularly.
Well,
But there, there could be a reason that I'm just totally overlooking. Katie,
That's just the way my brain works sometimes. I'm like, why those two?
I know, right?
Why not a leg? Why not an arm? Like, I don't know. Like,
Inquisitive minds want to know.
It is what
Only
it
those of a certain generation remember that slogan.
is. Okay, it's just the way my brain works.
Katie,
typically, when you look at different animals, but for us in particular, you look at a chicken. The breast and the thigh are the meatiest parts. They have the most meat
Okay,
on them.
that makes sense.
The same with you don't think breast of a deer, but you have certain parts of a deer that are meatier. I can't think of what it's called right now. But this right here on either side of
all right, I want everybody to know that Sister Katie is speaking from authority.
Right, exactly.
Please continue on the deer.
But when you look at the animals, certain animals, that's where you're going to get the most meat.
Okay, that makes sense too. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And it's usually the best, the tenderest.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap this up. We just got a few more minutes. All right, so now what we're going to see is the result of these things, and the result is ultimately going to be the blessing from the Lord. Can somebody read verses 22 through 24 for me?
Then Aaron lifted up his hands toward the people and blessed them. And he came down from offering the sin offering and the burnt offering and the peace offerings. And Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting, and when they came out, they blessed the people, and the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people. And fire came out from before the Lord and consumed the burnt offerings and the pieces of fat on the altar. And when all the people saw it, they shouted and fell on their faces.
So when these offerings were presented on the 8th day, what did Aaron do? What did Aaron do for the people?
He blessed them.
He blessed them. What do you think that he might have said? I think at this point, it's only speculation. It's only speculation to what he might have said. He might have presented a blessing that's very similar to Numbers chapter 6. I think a long time ago I did a sermon about this blessing and how it is of a benefit to others when we bless them. But in Numbers chapter 6, it says, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance on you and give you peace." What a beautiful blessing. Again, there's no way of us knowing exactly what Aaron said here, but I imagine it's very beautiful words for the people, encouraging to the people. And then after this blessing was given, what did Moses and Aaron do? They went into the tent. They went into the tent. Okay? So up until the ordination of the priesthood, they didn't go into the tent. They were to remain in the courtyard of the tabernacle during the 7 days of ordination. But on the 8th day, why did Moses and Aaron go into the tent?
Because their consecration was complete.
Okay.
They're officially
They are, yes.
in
Yeah.
the role of
Before all the people. Now remember, this is before all the people. All the people are there watching this. Okay. Remember, up until this point, Moses has been almost serving as a high priest for the people in a way. Being the spokesman for God, teaching the people. But Moses and Aaron go into this tent. I think this question is a kind of a trick question, because really we can guess, we can kind of speculate why Moses and Aaron had gone into the tent. They could have gone into the tent. Moses may have taken Aaron into the tent to show him, to describe to him all the duties of the high priest when the high priest is in the tent. That could be giving him more commandments from the Lord. That could be. But the people saw this, and the people saw Moses and Aaron can't come out, and when they come out, what happened? Before the glory of the Lord appeared, the people were blessed again. The people were blessed again. Again, we don't know what this blessing was, but after this, how did God demonstrate His acceptance of the tabernacle and the priesthood?
Well, he consumed the burnt offering and nothing else. I mean, he didn't, and he was pleased with it.
Yeah? Yes? He was pleased with it?
I have a question.
Yes.
When Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting, isn't that where God said He would appear to them? So
Yes. Right. And it could be that at that point, that's when God may have appeared to them, at the Ark of the Covenant. So how did God demonstrate His acceptance? And what led up to this acceptance? This event? The people were obedient. And how did He show up?
I think Janice was spot on that. I think the Lord appeared to Moses and Aaron in the tent, and then it says He appeared to all the people. His glory.
Yeah, okay.
Not His fury, His glory. So
Yes.
He was
That's what I
pleased
meant,
with
yeah.
the sacrifice.
It was
Yeah.
pouring out his spirit. He wasn't mad, so he only consumed what they did. So that was a good thing. He didn't set fire to nothing else. So
And again, I'm this is why I'm pleased that we're doing Hebrews concurrent with this. How important obedience is in relation to God appearing as this fire. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 29 describes God as what? Consuming fire. That's exactly right.
yeah.
And knowing that, therefore, verse 28, Hebrews 12, therefore, since we receive a kingdom which cannot be shaken, let us show gratitude by which we may offer to God an acceptable service. Okay? What makes the service acceptable? What made the Israelite service acceptable? Obedience. Obedience. With reverence and awe. What did the people do when the glory of the Lord appeared before the people?
Well, face that.
Shouted and fell down. Worship. With awe, with joy, maybe even with fear. Fear. Because that is followed by, for our God is a consuming fire. I don't know. Maybe the Hebrew writer in chapter 12 here is drawing the these Hebrew Christians' attention back to the day when the Lord's worship had officially started in accordance with the law of Moses. All right, so that's going to wrap up chapter 9 for us. Lord willing, we'll pick up in chapter 10. Chapter 10, very very interesting. We're gonna talk about a couple of individuals, namely Nadab and Abihu. We're going to talk about what happened to them and why. But we'll just look forward to talking about that next week. I appreciate everybody's attention, everybody's participation.